Hi everyone, my name is Lucas, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Saining. Everyone, welcome back. It's a brand new year, and thankfully the holidays are over. Unfortunately, it's been like a month since I've posted. I got really sick over the winter holidays. I still don't really feel like myself. I'm still kind of drained. I don't really bounce back like I used to, but I'm on the mend. And it's kind of got me thinking about resetting myself, getting me and my home back to normal, and just kind of resetting myself and the spirits that live around me. So in the days to come, I'm going to be saining myself and my house to get me, my spirits, and everything just kind of back to a normal temper and make my home feel like my home again and feel inviting. So, what is Saining? So, Saining is a practice that originates in Scotland as a form of Scottish folk tradition or magic. To sain means to bless, consecrate, and remove negative influences upon a person, place, or object. So many think saining is an alternative to the indigenous tradition of smudging, and that's actually very true. In a way, they're kind of like very similar. So if you wanted to kind of like decolonize your practice a little bit, saining is an excellent substitution for the closed practice that is smudging. One thing to note about saining is that it is not the same as energy cleansing. So within like the New Age and spiritual communities, there's this idea of like bad energy in a space. And people often kind of mistake saining for energy cleansing, and they're a little bit different. So to kind of explain how the two are different, we kind of have to understand how the ancient Scottish people kind of thought and what their belief system was. So the people of Scotland were predominantly animist, much like myself. They believed everything around us, trees, water, the earth, random objects, they all had a spirit or a soul. They thought that everything around them was alive, and often when working magic or casting spells, instead of working with energies, they would call on the spirits of the objects themselves to aid with their workings, asking for them to intercede on their behalf. And it's this kind of belief that sits at the heart of what saining is. So instead of clearing away or removing a negative energy, what saining does is it eliminates the influences of harmful magic or spirits. It bolsters the spirit of the object itself, and it also brings about the intention of other benevolent spirits, bringing sanctity, protection, and prosperity to the person, place, or object. So, how do you go about saining? Well, typically, saining incorporates different elements, herbs, or objects that you would call forth the spirit of to aid you in eliminating negative influences, bringing about consecration, and further protection. You would then often combine this with a physical gesture or charm to help aid in the process. Typically, this was usually done by the old-fashioned way of crossing yourself, when Paganism kind of went underground. Or it can often be done with marking the subject with an equal armed cross, either done up and down or in an X. Within folklore, we see three different methods of saining, each kind of relying on three different elements. The first is water. Now, water is my preferred form of saining. There's just something about it. Water to me is magical. So I'll go over that one first. We see some examples of water saining happening at the time of Imbolc. Often people would make their way to the ocean to bathe or baptize themselves in the salt water in the sea. Here we can also see the practice also being used on horses, where the riders would ride them into the ocean to bless the horse and the rider. The second instance is particularly the use of consecrated water. Now, consecrated water was then often asperged onto the subject or poured upon them to remove curses or hexes. A technique specific to my own family kind of combines the two together. So what you would do is you would take the person or object down to a flowing river or to the ocean, and once there you would accept the person or object and submerge it within the water, allowing the water's flow to carry away any adverse effects. Then once submerged in that liminal space, you would call on the spirit of the river or the ocean to aid in the protecting of you going forth, keeping you cleansed and hidden kind of within the liminal embrace of the river. Now, I understand that in today's society, it may not be a little difficult to go down to the river and do a whole ritual or access a specific type of water source. So if you're looking to incorporate water saining into your practice, here are a few tips I can give you. When physically cleaning your home, what you can do is you can call on the spirit of the mop water that you are using to wash your floor or that you're using to wash your walls, to help to wash away any adverse influences or spirits that may be affecting your home. Because I live in an area that's cold for a large part of the year, another technique that I like to use, that I talked about in my magical uses of snow water, is to use snow. And so what I do is I melt it down and I put it inside a little plastic squirt bottle, and then I go around my home asperging all of my belongings, calling forth the spirit of the once frozen water to help my space feel fresh, crisp, freeze out any bad intentions or entities that are upon me, my family, or my space. And another thing I like to do is go down to the river where I have a good relationship with my with the spirit that dwells there, and take some water from there, bring it home with me, and wipe down the walls with that sacred water, and ask that the river continuously flush out those negative influences and spirits, and keep my home feeling fresh, clean, and protected within the flows of its ever constantly moving water. The second way of saining is with fire. We can see two instances within old folklore of fire being used to sain. So the first is at two of the cross-quarter festivals, or the Celtic fire festivals. Here we can see large bonfires being built at Beltane and Samhain, and at these times you would see people either pass through or besides large bonfires to be blessed and consecrated, or to have the effects of curses or mischievous she kind of removed. The second time we see fire used as a form of saining is at the birth of a new child. There's an old practice in which midwives would create something called a pine candle. Now that's created by taking the wood from the center of a coniferous tree, which is usually highly soaked with sap or resin, and they would then light that piece, and the wood would burn, releasing the scent of the tree, and they would pass it over the baby several times to consecrate, bless, and protect it. So if you're looking to kind of incorporate fire saining into your practice, consider being very careful for obvious reasons. You really don't want to set yourself, your home, or any of your precious objects on fire. So please, if fire saining, use caution and good judgment, and always have fire prevention devices on hand. Now that the warnings are kind of out of the way, incorporating fire saining at the time of the Celtic fire festivals is a great way to add in some of those older traditions into your modern day practice. If you can, at Beltane or Samhain, build a large bonfire and ask the spirit of the flames to burn away any negative effects or spirits that may have attached themselves to you, or your family or animals. You can also ask the flames to instill them with their warmth, energy, and vitality to keep you healthy and safe for the year to come. Another method that you can use is if you have any non-flammable items, you can kind of quickly pass them through the flame of a candle or a fire for a similar effect. But as I said, just like use good judgment and be safe when you're using fire. We don't want anyone getting hurt. The final form that we see within folklore being used for saining is smoke. So juniper is one of the primary herbs used, and if we look at some of the correspondences for juniper, we can begin to understand why they would want to incorporate that spirit into cleansing and protecting them. So juniper is excellent for breaking hexes, protecting against illness, warding off thieves, aiding in the exorcism of evil spirits and mischievous she, and also to help protect against fire. So typically this practice was done at the time of the new year. They would collect juniper in a very specific way, and they would sain the building and the inhabitants. It would be brought within the house or barn, and the family would seal the windows and doors, and the juniper branches would be set alight and allow the smoke to kind of fill the room or the house or barn. Once the people or animals couldn't stand the smoke any longer, the owners would open the windows and doors, allowing the fresh air to fill the space. We can also see the practice of smoke cleansing being used specifically on the farm for animals, specifically cattle. Juniper would often be braided into the tails of the cattle and to act as a charm of protection against, specifically usually she trying to sour the milk or steal it for themselves. Or if you suspected them of having a spell upon them or had drawn the eye of the malicious she, they would light the branches and pass the juniper branches over them, smoking the kettle to remove any negative effects or afflictions. If you'd like to try smoke saining, feel free to do some experimentation, try different herbs, botanicals, and trees and see what works best for you. But I would suggest doing a fair bit of research. Certain plants aren't really well suited for what you're looking to do, so just keep that in mind. Also, some plants are unsafe for humans and animals to inhale. They can cause serious side effects, so look into that as well and just always be mindful and safe. So those are some traditional forms of saining. If you're looking to kind of incorporate them into your own practice, by all means. But I would encourage you to experiment with different methods, see what works for you, but more than anything, commune with the spirits that are around you and see what happens. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to progress a little bit more with this pagan specifically, you can hit the subscribe button as I try to post magical content fairly regularly. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Or if you have an idea for a video or that you would like me to do, feel free to go down there as well. I hope to see you guys in another video soon. And as always, may your path always be an interesting one, as there's nothing worse than being bored. Have a good one, guys.